We're sisters, best friends, and authors on a mission to help you stoke your creative fire and live the life of your dreams. We believe that purpose fuels passion and that creativity is your secret weapon for mass construction. There's never been a better time to bless the world with your dream realized. You're listening to The Kate and Abbie Show. What's up, guys? Welcome back to another episode of The Kate and Abbie Show, and welcome to 2022.
Yay!
This is the first episode of the new year. It's a brand new year and a great opportunity to sit down and figure out your writing goals for this coming year and to set some resolutions for your writing life, for your life in general, healthy habits, all of that good stuff. That's one of the reasons why the new year is my favorite time of year, because it feels just like there's so much hope and possibility unfolding in front of you. So
that's a good way to put it.
Yeah. So in this episode, we are going to dive into a very popular topic, which is how to write consistently every day, if you so desire, in the new year. How to become a consistent writer and use 2022 to build the foundation of your writing career, to make your author dreams come true. And all of that starts with making a habit, sitting down, devoting yourself to your book or your writing project or whatever it is you're working on, and you can make this happen. You can become a consistent writer who takes your work seriously in 2022, and we're going to dive into that topic today. Kate and I are going to discuss this whole thing and give you our best advice for creating a consistent writing habit in this new year. So we're going to dive into that. But first, we have to thank our sponsors, who are you guys. You're our sponsors, all of you amazing listeners who watch this show and support it. And we so appreciate your help. So if you get value out of this podcast, go over to patreon.com/The Kate and Abbie Show and help us keep this show alive and free of interruptions. So
Abbie just got off of a writing hiatus.
Yeah.
And, not really writing. You actually did some writing.
I did do a lot more writing than I usually do.
Hiatus from other things.
Yes. My what's next retreat.
So that's why you guys have probably noticed that there was a little break. We took a break at the end of the year through the holiday season. We hope you all had a great holiday season too. And Abbie does this cool thing where she goes on a what's next retreat. I kind of just, eat leftover Christmas cookies and watch her do this. So what did you do on that? Did you plan some of your writing stuff?
Yeah. I looked at a lot of my writing goals, tried to figure out what are some realistic goals that I want to pursue in this coming year, but trying to be a little bit more flexible with myself this year. Because I have found in the past couple years that what makes me the most creative and inspired is to give myself space in my schedule, that if I want to start working on a new project or, sidestep into something different and explore a new project, I don't feel restricted. Oh, I can't do that because I have all these other plans.
Right, exactly. It's important to, especially as you continue in your writing career, to make your plans malleable to an extent, So if you're planning on writing a book in the summer, don't necessarily pin down, well, it has to be this book, even if I feel inspired to write something else.
Yeah.
It's important to leave some wiggle room for playfulness, curiosity, creativity. Those things won't always tick the exact boxes we have planned out, but we can still actively be writing and still actively be moving forward without being too restrictive. I like that, leaving room for that and planning. So Abbie and I have been working on a co-write as well.
Yes.
And
that's mostly what I was writing during my retreat.
We've been full steam ahead. We're actually close to being done with the first book.
Yeah, it's really exciting. We pretty much wrote it all in, I don't even think we started that soon in 2021. When did we start writing that? Was that summer?
We started writing it in, I think, May or June.
Yeah, I think it was June.
So
6 months. Wow.
Yeah, and it's been a bigger writing project for us because this is not just a single book, it's a series.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of world building and a lot of collaboration, a lot of character development to lay the groundwork for the future novels. So that's been really fun. And I feel like that's helped us both, diving into the topic of writing consistently. That's been a cool thing that's helped us both write consistently, even when we have a gap between novels that we're writing ourselves. This co-write has been a really fun project that I know you've been working on simultaneously with other things.
Yeah.
And I've been working on it simultaneously with editing the second Sparrow book that's coming out in the near future. So yeah, that's been a fun way to continue writing consistently, even in between our own individual projects that we have going.
Yeah, that's actually one of the things that I'd recommend for writers who want to write consistently, is having a accountability partner, or somebody who can motivate you, who can check in with you and like keep updated on your progress, is really helpful. I know
accountability is
me
huge.
A lot.
Yes.
To have you and to be able to write something and then share it and then feel that sense of accomplishment.
And that also makes it more fun too, I think.
Yeah,
it makes it
way
more
more fun.
accountability, because accountability, I think a lot of people have this image, and I sort of do too, even though I know it's not this, of like, did you write today? Did you write today? You know what I mean? And it's almost as daunting, like, oh, I have to be able to say yes because they're keeping me accountable. You know what I mean?
Right.
Whereas when it's more like, oh, I get to write it and then share it with them, and then I get to see what they think of it. And that's kind of a little dopamine hit every time. Mm-hmm. So that makes it way more fun rather than just, yeah, I wrote. Did you write? Yeah. Okay, cool. Make it more fun and more vibrant by like sharing snippets or pieces of what happened. I think that makes it way more fun.
Yeah, it does, for sure.
Accountability is definitely probably one of the number one most important things when it comes to writing consistently, is tell someone about it, whether it's, a friend, a family member, a spouse, a writing buddy online. You can, by letting people know that, hey, I'm working on this project, it automatically makes it more cemented in your mind to be talking about it, I think.
Yeah. Yeah, or even if you don't like to share as you go, another way to keep that accountability would be to share at a certain point, or be like, when I finish the first draft, I'm going to share it with so-and-so. And that's going to be 2-3 months from now. And so then you have that date. Maybe you tell the person, by March, I'm going to be sharing this with you. I'd love for you to read it then. And then they're going to be looking for it, waiting for it, and kind of holding you more accountable as that time rolls around. Right. Of course, it depends on how you write, how you enjoy writing, and your goals. And that's another thing about writing, creating a consistent writing habit in the new year, is that you don't have to have the same system as every other writer. I feel like that's something that a lot of writers try to do at the beginning of the year, or even anytime during the year, is kind of fashion their own systems and process after somebody else's that seems to work for someone else.
Right.
Just because it works for someone else doesn't mean it's the best thing for you.
Right.
And
like we
finding
talked
your own
about that kind of in the morning routine video, about how, a lot of things are out there like, oh, this is the $1 million morning routine. And just because it worked for someone else doesn't mean it will work for you. Right.
Exactly. So if someone else that you admire and look up to writes every single day, that doesn't necessarily mean you need to write every single day. I know Kate and I don't write every single day, and I find that, at least at this point in my life and my career, what works the best for me is basically breaking my week in half and having half of my week be devoted to business work and the other half being devoted to getting writing done. And that has been working well for me, and everyone has to find their own process, of course, that fits well with your lifestyle and your work and your business and whatever else you have going on.
Right, because depending on what you do for work or what your family situation is, all those little things in life will change it for you and make it a different experience. You know, you might not be able to get up first thing in the morning and write. You might have to, you know, feed your kids and your dog and run off to work and stuff like that. So it might be a nighttime thing, or it might be an afternoon thing. You have to really find what works for me exactly, and not feel like you have to follow some other author or other people in your writing group, or just other people you know about online. That's not what makes the writing good.
Yeah, and I think a lot of people set unrealistic goals that sound good on paper, but they don't coexist well with your lifestyle, and so they won't work. Like write every day, for instance. Well, let's say you can't, and then you fail to do that for the first few weeks of January, and you're like, this will never work. I can't write consistently. I'm not a consistent writer. Well,
Right.
You didn't really take the time to be mindful about your lifestyle existing alongside with your writing career. And how can you make those two things harmonize, you know?
Right, exactly.
Really finding the harmony is what will help you to stay consistent. Because if you don't have that harmony, you're kind of forcing yourself to practice writing, or to, you know, get whatever work done you need done in your writing career alongside everything else you're doing, and it's just not working.
Exactly.
You know?
Yeah, you absolutely have to find what works for you. And notice when you feel inspired too. That's a big thing, I think, is different people feel inspired at different times of day. And I think it has a lot to do with when you feel calm enough to, you know, settle into writing. So that's going to be different for everybody. Some people want to do that first thing in the morning before they do anything else, because that's when they have their me time. That's when they feel most relaxed. And for other people, it will be at the end of a day when everything else is behind them. You know, so you have to really just notice, when do I feel the most eager to create? Because that might be a good time to establish, okay, I sit down for an hour and I write. Even if I have other things going on, I'm going to take 30 minutes to an hour, whatever works for myself. And if you do that every day, or even a few times a week, over time that adds up. I think a lot of people make the mistake of thinking, well, that's not that much time, so just forget it. And then they don't write at all anyway. And so the half hour you could have given yourself would have added up over time to be a lot of hours of writing, a lot of words. That's a lot of words over time. And so don't cut yourself short thinking, okay, just because I can't give myself 3 hours to write, I'm not going to do it. There might be a specific time slot that's small, but take it. Take that time. That's part of laying the groundwork for the habit, is showing up, even if it's for just a little bit. There have been writing days when I have not had a lot of time to write, and I'll just sit down and write for a half hour. Yeah. But it feels better, and it still fires those same triggers in my brain of, okay, we sat down, we took the time, we wrote, and then it's easier and easier to keep going back.
Right. Yeah. Another thing is making your writing experience more fun and enjoyable and attractive. I mean, that's one of the laws of behavior change, just on a brain science level. You have to look at this habit that you want to practice as being attractive. It has to be attractive to you. It has to be enjoyable. There has to be joy involved in the process in order for you to be drawn to it naturally. And this has always been pretty easy for me because I love writing pretty much more than anything else.
Right.
Like,
same.
If I was given the option to do anything on a day off, it would be write. And I know that doesn't sound like a day off really, because obviously I write as part of my career, but it is so fun to me, and I make sure that it always stays fun. And when you start to set, and I know this from experience, when you start to set unrealistic goals and high pressure deadlines and things like that, just putting a lot of expectations on yourself, it starts to take the joy out of the process and feels more like work. So the more you can make it enjoyable and creative and playful, like you said, the more you will want to show up, even if it's for a small period of time, to practice your art. And there are various ways that you can make your writing experience more enjoyable. Kate and I have talked about that on other episodes, like setting the mood, making a nice writing space, listening
we'll
to
link
music.
If you're listening on YouTube, watching on YouTube, I'll link some of the previous videos below because, like Abbie's saying, we have a few videos that we just did recently too. That wasn't that long ago. I think it was sometime before the holidays where we talked about how you can use some really simple methods to make your space like really fun, refreshing, the type of space where you just can't wait to sit down and write.
Yeah.
And also little rituals that you can do, like making yourself a cup of tea, tidying up your space, lighting a candle or incense, putting on a Himalayan salt lamp. Do a few things to make the space cozy and inviting, because really it helps me to feel so much more creative when I'm writing in a space that is organized and tidy and welcoming, really.
Yeah. Totally.
It makes you so much more eager to sit down and write.
Yeah.
Than when it's messy and there's chaos and you haven't cleaned anything from yesterday. You know what I mean? It's just like clutter you don't need.
Yeah.
And it creates mental clutter too. You know what I mean?
It does. Physical clutter definitely creates mental clutter. And another thing that I find helps me to stay consistent, I don't even know if this is like a legitimate piece of advice to give because it sounds like non-advice, is to constantly be immersing yourself subconsciously in your story, or even, I guess it's consciously, but
this is so true.
Always having it on your mind.
Yeah.
And this does a few things.
It's almost meditative.
Yeah, it's almost meditative. It does a few things. Consciously thinking about it, you are anticipating what you're going to write. You're sharpening details of the scene or whatever you're going to write in your mind, or sharpening details of the character, their backstory, whatever the case may be. And in your subconscious, you are anticipating that. You're anticipating the experience of immersing yourself in this story, which creates more desire to sit down and do it.
Exactly.
Whereas if all throughout the day, and I don't think any writer is like this, but I'm pretty sure every writer like obsessively thinks about their stories. But if throughout the day you were so caught up in other things that you are completely on a different like mental wavelength than your story, when you sit down to write, it might feel kind of jarring to get back into that headspace of, okay, what's going on in this story? Not necessarily for everybody. This is just something I've experienced, is that if I consistently think about what I'm going to write, or even just another element of the story that I haven't even reached yet, if it's always on my mind, I'm always like turning it over in my mind, it's always there in the back of my subconscious, it's so much easier to sit down and plunge right into the world and just be there in the skin of my character. It's so much easier to get into that headspace, I find, when you are spending a lot of time pondering your story throughout the day. When you're doing other things, menial tasks or driving or doing something that doesn't require a lot of thought. Obviously, don't get distracted while you're driving. But
I knew you were gonna say that.
Thinking about your stories. I know. I don't ever want to give people bad advice. Disclaimer.
But Abbie said to think about my story.
Yeah.
While I was driving.
Don't want anything bad to happen, but if you don't have to think about what you're doing, think about your story.
Right.
I like to think about like just go into a whole different headspace.
Yeah, it's going into your mind palace.
Yeah,
the mind palace of your book. It creates anticipation too. You know what I mean? Like, like when you're looking forward to something, you're constantly thinking about it, and then when it happens, you're like, it's even better because you've been so looking forward to it. You know what I mean?
Like before I went to go see Anastasia on Broadway, I listened to the soundtrack so many times I could like sing every word of every song, and did in the shower many times. But just like anticipating seeing it was so much part of the joy. And then finally seeing it was like, oh my gosh, this doesn't even feel real.
Exactly.
It feels surreal. But it helps you to, with anything, you'll find that you do that. You anticipate, how is this going to be when I actually experience it?
Right.
And you can use those things, whatever they may be, whether it's a playlist for your book or just mental images, vision boards, anything to spark your imagination and lay the groundwork for that experience.
Yeah. Yeah, I think anything that triggers going into a headspace and thinking about your book, invite those things into your life. Like whether it's creating vision boards, like you're saying, or playlists, like find what those triggers are. We talked about this in a previous episode too. Find what those triggers are and use them. Use them like tools to help submerge you mentally in your story.
Yeah, and also for just your life in general and your writing career. That can also be very helpful if you have images in your mind of how you want your writing career to look, what you want it to look like, what you dream it being like. Make a vision board of that as well on Pinterest or any other platform that you like using. I've done that too.
Helps you to manifest it.
Yes.
Yeah. Like find what works for you, because for some people it's more like some people are more like listening to something some people are more visual. So figure out what works for you. What inspires you the most? Is it listening to something? Is it looking at something? Maybe it's a certain place you go that gives you certain thoughts and feelings of success and hopefulness and harmony and joy. Figure out what those triggers are for you, because I think it's different for everybody.
Yeah. And identifying with the person you want to be already. Like, you are that consistent, professional, badass writer. Just call yourself that, immerse yourself in that, walk and live and work from that place, you know?
Right.
From the place of not, I want to be consistent, but I am a consistent writer.
Exactly.
I am taking my writing seriously. I am taking my book seriously. I am committed to this project. And again, science has shown that when you are identifying with the group of people that you want to be with, or the person you want to be, the person that you're aspiring to be, when you are in a place mentally where you are already connecting to and relating to that, that sets you up for success with sticking to your habits, because you're already in that place of, this is who I am. Mm-hmm. This is what I do all the time. Not this is what I want to do. This is what I do. This is, I am a professional, successful author.
Right.
You know, whatever you have to say to yourself. Positive affirmations are also a great thing, which Kate does a lot of on her meditations, right?
Yeah. I actually have a meditative journey for writers coming out very soon. It's a small course that's a 7-day meditation journey specifically designed for writers to help you get into a headspace over the course of 7 days where you can write your novel, your book, your screenplay from a mindset of clarity and peace and feeling totally grounded in your story. So I designed this course to be a really good tool for that, and that will be coming out super soon on you'll hear about it on my YouTube channel.
Cool. Yeah. Sounds awesome. Yeah, I've seen Katie hard at work on it, and
yeah.
You guys are gonna love it. I'm really excited to do the meditations as well, because I don't do enough meditation before I write, but I do find when I do that, it helps me a lot.
Me too. See, it helps me so much. And a lot of people, I think, have a misconception about meditating, like you have to sit down for an hour in lotus and chant Om, but you really don't need. You could take 15 minutes for yourself in whatever way feels good to you and gain so many benefits and so much mental clarity from just taking that time to let go of the thoughts from the previous day, the previous week, your entire life, and let yourself rest, let yourself rejuvenate, and then go at your project with a completely clean slate, a clear mind. It's very helpful.
That's very important, I think. That's something that I remember from training karate was the principle of leaving everything behind.
Exactly.
When you walk into the dojo or your training area. And I think that's so valuable for any area of life. It is. For your writing as well. That's something that can drag us down when we sit down to be creative, is everything else that's happening in our minds, the chaos of life and everything that we carry around all day. How can you close the door behind you and leave it all outside the door and step into your creativity, step into a different mindset.
Right.
And I think that will also be very helpful for consistency.
Exactly. Yeah. Because if you're constantly distracted, not only does it not feel great to create like that, it doesn't inspire you to want to create more. When you have divided attention, it's like you're never really present. It's the opposite of being present and grounded, is to be doing a bunch of things at the same time, which a lot of society and online culture really promotes. So the internet is geared against us here with promoting multitasking, be productive, be filling every second with multiple things, be on your phone with someone else while you're having lunch with somebody else. You know what I mean? So the modern idea of success really is not working for us.
Yeah.
It's not working for us, and it's not working for us. So you have to kind of pull back from that and realize, like, hey, I don't need to be on a bunch of different things. I'm going to put my phone away while I write. I'm going to let my family members know, hey, I'm going to take 30 minutes, an hour, 2 hours and write my book, and allow yourself to have that time away from everything else. We don't need to constantly be multitasking. It's good to land here and now in the moment. And I think that inspires you to want to create even more.
Yeah, for sure. That definitely is something that inspires me. And like I said, even if you have a lot of chaotic things happening around you, find those moments where you can go into your mind palace.
Yeah.
Where you can leave everything behind and just
retreat
chill out.
into the mind.
Yeah, just retreat. It can be like a mental writing retreat, without even having to be writing at the exact moment.
Yeah.
You know? You can still be creative. You can be creative anywhere, any time of day.
Yeah, I always thought that was cool, like, especially when I was younger and first, like, getting really avid about my early novels and stuff, was that it was like I could go into my story wherever I wanted.
Yeah.
It was like my secret clubhouse in my mind that no one knew about. I could go there whenever I wanted. No one else could come with me.
It's so cool. It is.
Like riding in the car, watching the rain, being all moody, thinking about my book. Can someone else relate to that? Because that was like one of my favorite activities.
I can relate for sure.
And then like as you grow in your practice, it's just this fun thing. It really is. It's a retreat, like you were saying. It's a place of it's sacred because it's a place of refuge. It is. Yes. Good way to put it. I like that.
So make it your refuge. Make it your joy. Make it fun.
Yeah, make it fun.
2022, we've been through a lot. It's time to have fun with your writing.
Yes,
it's time to have fun with your year.
Yeah.
And this Wednesday, I am going to be posting a video about how to achieve your writing goals in 2022. So keep an eye out for that. That's a great companion to this podcast. But hopefully you guys got a lot of good tips out of our discussion here today so that you can go forth into your new year. Brand new opportunity to start some new habits and stick with them. Make your author dreams come true, but don't be too hard on yourself. Let your writing come naturally, creatively. Let it be fun. Enjoy the journey. Enjoy the journey because the journey is all there is.
Yeah.
So
true.
Thank you guys so much for listening. If you liked this episode, hit the like button if you're on YouTube watching the video. If not, check it out on Kate's YouTube channel, which is youtube.com/KAMens. If you get value out of this podcast, go to patreon.com/The Kate and Abbie Show. Help us keep it alive and free of interruptions. We love you guys so much, and we thank you so much for your support, as always. And we will see you in the next one. Until then,
stay stoked
and rock on.